Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over a major Arctic blast which is going to be impacting parts of the eastern and central United States. We're going to be going over some of the differences within the models, and we're also going to be going over who could be seeing snowfall within this period. Over the next couple of days I'm eyeing up a snowstorm for parts of the northern plains and the upper Great Lakes. I'll be making a video on that if that holds up in the models, probably sometime later this week into the weekend. I'll definitely keep you guys updated on that because it does look like it could be a fairly big event, bringing over 6 inches if some of this model data is correct. So I'm just going to keep my eye on that, and I'll update you guys definitely in my community post tab, but also I might even make a video giving my personal snowfall forecast for that event. So let's get right into it here. You see, for much of the eastern half of the U.S., not a lot going on in terms of watches and warnings, but for much of the western half of the United States, there's a lot going on, from heat advisories in southwestern California to frost advisories and winter weather advisories in parts of Washington, Montana, Idaho, and Oregon. We also see some of those red flag warnings for parts of northern California, Nebraska, Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming, as well as some air quality alerts in effect for portions of central California. We see all those wind advisories in the lighter browns for parts of Washington, Idaho, Oregon, and Montana, as well as some of those high wind watches in the darkest brown for portions of Wyoming, South Dakota, Montana, and for portions of north central Montana as well. And then we see those high wind warnings in effect for portions of Montana, Washington, even a little bit of Idaho there, and into Oregon. Other than that, there's nothing else going on in terms of watches and warnings. And let's get right into the temperature anomaly forecast. Now, here is the European Ensemble Model forecast, and I've been using this model as well as the GFS Ensemble Model a lot over the past couple of days just because it's an averaged out, very accurate look. Right now, I'm leaning towards what the GFS Ensemble Model is showing. That's mainly just because the GFS and the GFS Ensemble Model together have been so accurate this hurricane season and this early fall, and I just think that trend most likely will continue at least through November, and then maybe the European model starts to pick up in its accuracy. So we'll still have to see. There's a lot of discrepancy, especially over this area, over the eastern third of the United States, over this region, whether this region will stay warm and over a ridge of high pressure, or whether this trough can dig far enough east into that part of the country. So we'll have to see. That's the main thing that I'm watching out for. It's pretty much guaranteed for portions of the central United States and also parts of the northern Rockies, as well as parts of the northwest. So we have a couple areas that are pretty much guaranteed to see some cold air, but this is the real area that we have a lot of question marks about. So in the blues, the greens, the purples, that's below normal. In the yellow, the oranges, the reds, the browns, even the whites, that's indicating above normal temperatures compared to your normal. And we're going to be going over to the European Ensemble Model, a collection of about 51 models. So here would be by Thursday morning, and we're looking at that cold air starting to fill into parts of the north central United States, the northern Rockies, and the northwest. We also see some of that cold air for central and western Canada, so that is where that cold air is coming from. It's spilling southward into these regions. Now, what we want to look at is whether this area over the northwest is going to get a lot of cold and how far west this cold air will get. So if this cold air does get to portions of the west coast, if it does get all the way that far to the west, you most likely have a better chance of holding on to that warmer than normal temperatures for portions of the eastern third of the U.S. for a longer period of time. Eventually, you will get into that cold air, probably by later October, the last few days of October. Both of the models show that, but whether you get into it within the next week or two, or whether it stays for you stay in that warm pattern for maybe 2 or 3 more weeks, that's really the big thing that I'm trying to figure out right now. Now, here would be for Friday morning, that cold air is moving through, and this is not your original cold blast. We're looking at just your first initial wave. We have a big system moving through, bringing in some cooler temperatures behind it, and then we're seeing just some kind of temporary warmer air sticking around for the East Coast, but that'll go away. Now, here would be by Saturday morning, we're seeing that system move through. We're seeing the cold air being pushed with it. So this would be your first area of cold air. Your second area is up here in western Canada by this point. This would be by Saturday, October 7th or October 17th. and that's where our next cold air is going to come from, and it's going to move to the east. We're going to see this one move back up to the north, and this is going to kind of move back further to the west, and that'll kind of loop around. That's what we see with these polar vortex like systems. They kind of loop around each other. So these two systems are going to loop around each other, and you'll see that in the model run. Now we see the very cold air move throughout portions of the western Canada region and also into parts of the northern plains. We still have that cold air from that front that moved by, that's still over there, and that'll eventually move out. Now here would be by October 19th, we're looking at now the cold air starting to move through, but because there was such a gap between that original cold air mass and that cold front that moved throughout parts of the eastern United States and this next second system, there is going to be time for some ridging, according to the European Ensemble Model, to build in over the eastern United States. So you notice in the beginning of the run, we had that ridging mainly just for the four corners and the southwest, and we'll have to see if that holds. But if we do see such a big gap, maybe 2 days, 48 hours before the next system, the next cold air mass comes through for the East Coast, we could potentially see some ridging able to build through parts of the eastern United States and actually hold together throughout this cold wave. So you would see most of your cold air pushed back a little bit further to the west and kind of impact this region. Now, let's move this forward again, and this is a really good example of this. Here would be by October 20th, that ridging over the southwest suppressed even further to the south, but we're seeing much of the eastern third of the United States getting into that warmer than normal temperatures, but you're going to see completely the opposite in the GFS Ensemble Model, and that's really the big issue with this. We're really having two different Ensemble Model outcomes with this cold air mass. Now here would be for the 21st, and here would be for the 22nd, and this ridge actually builds over the eastern United States. The cold air mass builds over parts of the north central United States. So if you live in the north central United States, the upper Great Lakes, portions of the northern Rockies, the northwest, you'll actually see colder temperatures if this were to be the outcome, and you'll see them for a longer period. If you live in the eastern United States, that's really where it's going to be contested, because we could see this warm pattern build in, and you would have to wait maybe till the 27th, 28th of October to actually finally break through into some cooler than normal temperatures. And then look at this October 23rd, basically nothing changed. I'll go back here and you can see pretty much nothing changed here. Here would be by the 24th, pretty much the same thing, nothing really changed. And here would be by the 25th, it's starting to move a little bit further to the south, the 26th, and here would be the 27th. And this is when this ridge starts to really break apart and move out to the east. So maybe by the 27th, 28th, 29th, if the European Ensemble Model is correct, we would see some cold air move throughout parts of the eastern United States, but we're seeing this trough now starting to finally progress further to the east if this were to be correct. Now, let's start looking at the GFS Ensemble Model and what it's showing. Now, the GFS Ensemble Model has the cold air. This would be by tomorrow morning, and we're looking at that cold air over parts of western and central Canada, and let's see what it does here. Now, here would be by October 15th, and then here would be by the 16th. Here's the 17th. Now, what we're seeing is we're seeing pretty much the same pattern, but what we're going to really need to pay attention to, how much time is there between this system departing and how much time is there between this one coming in. So that's going to be our main thing now we have to pay attention to. Now here would be by the 18th. Notice that the European Ensemble only brought the second cold air mass. Here's our first one, and then here would be our second one right here. So this is our second one, this is our first one. The European Ensemble Model had this second one come in on the 20th of October. So that gives this ridge maybe 2 or 3 days to build into the east, and by that point, the cold air mass, the second cold air mass, when it comes through parts of the United States, will not be able to break it apart easily enough, and it'll take maybe a week or two for that ridge to really break apart. So if we can see such a fast moving pattern, which we currently have in the atmosphere, if we can see that continue into early next week, late this week, that could definitely be the case, and we could definitely see some cold air move into the eastern United States. Now, here would be by October 19th, and you even see on the GFS Ensemble Model some minor ridging starting to break through parts of the eastern third of the U.S., but that is really very, very minor, and that is very easily broken apart by this cold air mass. Now, here would be by the 20th, and that cold air mass is really sitting through the central U.S. Here would be by the 21st, and then the 22nd. So the cold air has reached much of the East Coast by this point, and definitely by the 23rd, it's definitely into the East Coast. But that only happened around the 27th or 28th for the European ensemble model. So you can really tell where the discrepancies are between these two models. Here would be by the 24th, and that cold air mass, you can really tell what the jet stream is looking like by this point. The jet stream would most likely be something like this. And if this was in winter, we would have a much snowier and colder pattern, just because mainly just because it's October, November. We're not going to see as much cold and snow. That's just because the atmosphere is much warmer this time of year. Here would be by October 26th, then here would be by the 27th, and here would be the 28th. And we're looking at that pattern sitting across the eastern United States, and maybe even some long-term outlooks bring this all the way until the first half of November. So we really have to wait and see. Here would be the Climate Prediction Center outlook for the 6 to 10 day time frame. This would be from the 18th to the 22nd. The Climate Prediction Center, and mainly think this is going to be because of the European ensemble model kind of influencing what they're showing. They're bringing that colder than normal temperature region through parts of the central U.S. and all back through the Rockies and the Northwest. So that would be the general area, according to the Climate Prediction Center, of cold air. But they do leave that chance in that you do see some colder than normal temperatures for the East Coast. And I think that's what they're really looking at, the European ensemble model. And I think that's really shifted their guidance. And then here would be by the 8 to 14 day time frame from the 20th to the 26th. We're looking at warmer than normal temperatures building into the eastern United States. According to this, colder than normal temperatures shifted a little bit further to the east over the central United States. And then if you're wondering, here is the 45-day snowfall totals from the European ensemble model. Again, a collection of about 51 models averaged out. Here's the averaged out look, and we have most of these models bringing the snow line fairly far to the south over the middle Atlantic, the southeast, and parts of the interior southeast, and then down through the south central United States. And this is going through November 26th. Now, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.